Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, false flag, terror attacks, Bill Gates, Henry Kissinger, New World Order, mind control, Bank of America stealing homes with cut and paste mortgage loans, police, state, taser guns, FEMA camps, man to run, Monsanto rules the food supply while Big Pharma dopes your mind, prison system, profiteers, foundations, fund the fears, fund the evil through the years, the world's not as it appears. CIA smuggles drugs while Wachovia and Wells Fargo launder them, then give the proceeds to the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank. Now the IRS takes money out of every single check. Money created out of thin air and leave you with debt. They want to make you a serf, a slave to their demand. They want to take your life in every way they can. Fluoride, GMO, vaccines, chemtrails, United Nations genocide. The world they show us is not real. This is how they kill and steal. Rothschild, Bundy, Rockefeller, Club of Rome. On the Georgia Guidestones it's written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, I'm Howard Neiman, and you're listening and watching Truth Talk News on truthbroadcastnetwork.com and formradio.com and all affiliates thereof. The Olympics have come to an end, ceremonially, of course, with typical Illuminati fashion. I would be remiss not to mention here on Truth Talk News on truthbroadcastnetwork.com that we are in a ritualistic ceremony that occurred last night. And I guess probably the best way to describe it would be to say that the opening ceremonies had the circular, first of all, of the all of these various symbols that were there. I mean, after all, ladies and gentlemen, the Illuminati pyramids were a focal point of this arena that was built on a toxic waste dump that was so just deemed safe, which is beautiful. It was deemed safe. And as they raise this building now, this structure, they will be building a low-income housing project for people to live in this safe environment. Remember when Fukushima occurred, that they never talk about anymore. You'll never hear about a word about it on the mainstream news. That Fukushima is safe. It's safe. They just raised the acceptable levels of radiation. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Life as usual. Well, life as usual in this very, very complicated, devious, twisted plot that is the control grid of the New World Order. Now, utilizing their control and throwing their power in, like, right out there in front of your face in many occasions, they let us realize that we don't see what they see. And when you are illuminated, and I hope that everyone watching Truth Talk News and Harry Link, of course, here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com with Death to the New World Order at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Slim Swayze from 8 to 9 p.m. We all are working, okay, to awaken or to illuminate the people to see what these evil Luciferian criminals, uh, murderous criminals, genocidal lunatics are all about. And we have come to the point where seeing what we see every day is almost overwhelming, because when you are illuminated, you recognize things that the average person doesn't see. I keep going back to that movie They Live, and I think They Live is a good representation of what I'm talking about. And I think the resistance, I've said this before on shows, in that film to the truth, in that scene with Keith David and Roddy Piper duking it out, because all that Roddy Piper wanted him to do is simply put on a pair of sunglasses, special sunglasses that allow you to see who are these aliens in that movie, but basically it's the criminals. I mean, it's definitely another euphemism or another, symbolism or metaphor for the elite or the controllers in this particular movie. And he is so damn resistant to put on those sunglasses to see the truth and the messages and everything else in the movie. For those that have not seen it, it's a great film. I think it was 1988, and it was John Carpenter. Highly recommend the film. They beat each other up, and all the guy wants to do is put on the glasses, and he won't put those glasses on. Keith David will not put on those glasses till basically he finally is forced to put them on. I guess he's broken down. They're both broken down. They beat each other practically to death. And he puts it on and he sees it and he can't believe it. And then he wakes up. He's, oh my God, I can't believe it. And that's the whole point. So it makes this social statement. And nobody gets this. Everyone going to the movies is just eating their popcorn and drinking their soda. And nobody gets these subtle hints. And I'm definitely going to delve more into the film aspect, movies. I mean, I went to film school and I was taught things, and now in my awakening, I look back and it's a very different world, of course, and I'm going to expose it and things I didn't realize that I do know. And I know a lot about film theory, and I could talk about Sergei Eisenstein and the Odessa step sequence, and I mean, really go deep into the whole concept of montage. And his work with that. I studied Eisenstein, was a big one. Hitchcock is my favorite director. So I could get into that whole thing. And there is like a lot of similarities. I mean, Hitchcock, again, it's funny. You look at him as he's New World Order, he's New World Order. Yes and no. I think that he was aware. He was certainly aware. He wasn't political, but he was aware of what was going on, and I think he poked fun at the elite and made his murderers these daunting, these very charming characters, like in Strangers on a Train and so on, for one example, where the killers and the crazy people are these elegant elitists, and he does make these commentaries, and I have not really looked back at his films lately, but I've seen all of them at least 5 or 6 times a piece. But not really so much since I've woken up over the last few years. I guess, I mean, I've seen him so much in the between college and years after that I haven't really watched Hitchcock like I used to. But my wife would tell you, in the early years of our marriage, oh God, it was always a Hitchcock film. Maybe so. But I think maybe I will revisit them. I mean, I did the other day, I saw The Birds, and I think The Birds is, again, another example. And it's not, I mean, the eco-fascists love it. Oh my God, you see, look, you hurt the birds, and look what the birds will attack. And, we have to, but it's really not the point that they're trying, that Hitch was trying to make with the birds. And, his idea was like, well, we eat these birds for thousands of years. Eventually they're going to revolt. He was making a statement. The birds were the people, ladies and gentlemen. The birds were us. It's very complicated if you or to understand or to grasp that aspect of it, but it's there. And again, I should look back at these films and determine some other interesting thing. This is just from my own thoughts recently. Like, I mean, I could look back at like other films. There is definitely hints about the fact that the people that are ruling the world are sort of, and the wealthiest people. For example, the Leopold and Loeb murders in the 1920s. Leopold and Loeb, excuse me, I call it Leopold and Loeb. But it was really Loeb is the connection because Kuhn, Loeb and Company. See, it's the same family that own the Federal Reserve. People don't understand that. Oh my God. Yes, yes, that's right. And they, of course, murdered this little 13-year-old boy just to see if they can get away with it and for the thrill of it. And they made that and Hitch made it into a film called Rope in 1948. But again, it's the whole idea of the elite. That was, by the way, in 1926, I think, the trial. And they ended up going to prison. They died in prison. I don't remember the whole storylines too deeply, but it was definitely a connected family in a big, big way. And they just believed that they were above each other and above the law and above, they were like elitists. And if you see the movie Rope, you'll see what I mean. That they, in fact, I think maybe I'll screen some Hitchcock on Truth Talk Night at the movies on Thursday. I'll just pick out a good one. And you can see how they have this elitist attitude of superiority. Again, Nazi type. You could say it's Nazi type, but it wasn't really Nazi type. It was, well, I mean, these elitists are various. I mean, come on, let's face it. They are sort of Nazis. I mean, the CIA was built out of that. Um, Anyway, have quite a bit of news going on. I don't want to, get away from that too much, but I thought I'd be remiss not to mention some of those things because it's very interesting, and it is Truth Talk News, and that's what we do here, and discussion of social change and social issues standing before us, like we have Obama. Oof, Obama. Now, again, Robomney. I think this whole thing with Paul Ryan is terrible. I mean, he was a good legislator, and now they're going to just put him into another puppet place, and it's disgusting. But that's how they do it. And God help them if they become president. And listen, believe me, I'm not supporting Obama, but either one of them. I mean, there's no winning here. Okay, this is not the place. There's no winning for our nation. Despite Paul Ryan's finest efforts, if I mean, I don't know. I mean, can you imagine it? It's like sort of like you have a gun pointed at your head and you have a sword ready to slice off your head. And your choice is between the two. So do you want to be shot in the head or do you want to have your head chopped off? That's the 2012 elections in a nutshell. Because it is so manipulative. And that's what I said. Most folks can't wrap their brain around this. But at the same time, it's very simple. If you just understand a couple of basic things. That if all the people who have all the largest businesses and largest corporations, I should say, and all the largest foundations are owned by the owners of these same corporations or controlled by those foundations, well, they're not owners, they're not foundation owners. The philanthropists of all these foundations, also through the foundations and through private holdings and other ways, control all of the corporations and all of the media outlets and all of the drug companies and all of the food companies and all of the energy companies and all of the various textile and other manufacturing companies. And you start to get a picture of what are you talking about? Well, if you really look at this spider web of evil, they are in a controlling interest in a vast majority of industry, period. That is the New World Order. And at the same time, they're collectivizing, shutting down corporations. Now, listen, you might have a $50 million corporation. Like I work for a company that I think does $50 million of revenue per year. But these collectivists, Okay, they will milk the industry that it is and the system that it is, and either buy out, sell out, or bankrupt these smaller companies. And personally, the owners might of these corporations, these might do well through these acquisitions, but they might also go bankrupt. As I said, many will go bankrupt, and this is what they do. This is how they do it. So they'll get into an industry, they'll find the leaders in the industry, they'll work deals to consolidate, to combine big, and then as they get larger, they large companies combine. And that's why there are all these mergers and acquisitions. Now, most of the acquisitions are done because these companies are sucking dry. I mean, it's a Rockefeller type thing. You know, they just get you. They hit you when you're down. They suck you dry, and you take the lowest dollar that you can because they've sucked the life out of your business through regulations and other problems that they have. They're okay with. I mean, look. It's, for example, Tyson. Many violations. No problems with the FDA. No, uh, Jack Boots kicking in the door for raw milk farms, or Dr. Carpenter. Again, I'll mention her all the time. The physicist who has a treatment for cancer that that kills tumors. Okay, it's done. It's done with a laser. FDA said she's using drugs. You know, it uses saline and food coloring are dangerous drugs. And I'm going to get into the food and drug things. I'm like sort of segueing into this, but it's sickening because this is what we're under. This is what it is. Understand the New World Order and then start researching everything I say, because everything that I tell you is the truth. That's why I do it. I don't do this for an agenda or any purpose other than to give you the information that I know to be true. And you know what? The reason I say this is that you must find your own truth. And you say, what do you mean, my own truth? Your own truth means that you seek it, you look it up, you research it, you come to your own determination, your own truth. And there is only one truth, and that is the truth. It's that simple. And I think we're at a turning point. Something's happening. People are beginning to wake up to the false left-right paradigm, this Robomni thing. In fact, somebody stole my "End the Fed" sign, and I'm very upset about that. But, I got over it because on the internet, you can all go up there. Just Google Obamni or Robomni or Robama, whatever. It'll look like that. And there's like a mixed message type, mixed symbols, because they each have their little slogans, or not their slogans, their own, what do you call it? Their logos, right? So they mix them together, and it says that, and you can blow it up into a campaign sign and put it in your lawn, ladies and gentlemen, to prove the bullshit. Because it doesn't matter. In fact, the best person that could have been president, I mean, this is it. Look, here's my opinion. I brought this in from work because this is actually on where I work, on above my desk, and I say literally above my desk, so anyone that comes in must see it. I have this. Now, I'm going to try to get this in frame properly. Now, Mitt Romney here, I took the liberty of adding a devil tail and a pitchfork, is standing here, and then there's the Obama urinal target, which is a very nice item that you can also find. You can just cut it out, make copies, put it in your favorite urinals, okay? And if you look closely, there's Ron Paul is on the American flag in the background. Sort of like left out of the picture, because really you have this evil situation here. So what do we have? We have liberty. We have people like Gary Johnson, who's running for president. So vote for Gary Johnson. Don't vote for these criminals. I mean, vote for liberty. Vote for change. Vote for real change, not for corporate interests that'll never change, because you have the black votes for Obama, and he's got this in the bag, and they're all playing all these manipulative games, and then they put the whites against the blacks, and then they put the Jews against the Muslims, and they put the Christians against the Catholics, whatever, it's a ridiculous divisional tactic, while they steal everything. And they're going to do the same thing. Obama, oh my God, Robomny. I'm just not even going to say it anymore, because now you'll all understand. From now on, I'm just going to say Robomny. That's it. Robomny 2012 or real change. Somebody that's going to go back to a constitutional republic and put Eric Holder in jail. Eric Holder needs to be put in jail. He is a criminal. He is an absolute despicable, despisable, lying, manipulative, political. He's a political person put into the justice system who does anything his master tells him. Oh, King Obama, whatever King Obama says, Holder backs it up. Whatever position. So the buck stops there. Remember, with Obama, he's totally illegitimate president in the first place. The whole thing is a big, huge psyop, everybody. And they're stealing our country, our values, destroying, bringing the New World Order, getting into this New Age religion, dropping putting a tax against the Catholic Church and all these other things. You don't understand. It's all connected. I don't care if you believe if you think that a woman should have a right to abortion or whatever. Forget about that. They're attacking individual religions, ideologies against things. I mean, this is the United Nations. The American tax dollars are paying for abortions in China. And them taking kids away from families, and you never see them, and where do they go? Abused into the sex trade. My God, everybody wake up. This is no joke. It's an insidious, slow process of decay that has been going on for a very long time. Going back to the 1920s, the jazz age with the loose women and all this, and why I always use in the Azure Soul band, my band, Azure Soul, when I show clips of that, it usually has a lot of things to do with the movie Metropolis, that whole Art Deco quote-unquote era, okay? But they are showing the truth. I mean, this is what they're doing. They're saying in the future everyone's going to be all this promiscuous stuff, but they were promiscuous. And they were enticing the promiscuity and pushing it to the limit. If you look at the history of censorship in Hollywood and Europe, it was always different. But look, there was always more. Sex was always more understood, or should say, permissive in Europe. But it's a decaying of society, bringing us back down to the end of Rome times, and the elite are even making fun of it with television shows like that Spartacus show on the Stars Network. And all of this unbelievable decay of religions, like changing the idea of marriage. And listen, everybody who's if you are gay and you want to marry and have civil union and have all the benefits that anybody else that married has, I'm with you. But you can't get married if it's a man and a woman. I mean, that's what marriage is defined as. But they are going to do all they can to change that, and totally push away the side of the fact that all that matters is, don't you want to have the same rights? What makes you need to have that? Well, because if they do that, then they've broken the back of this whole system. It's like the straw that'll just like crack the back, and then the camel will collapse and everything he's holding will just fall down, and as the society will crumble to nothing. And believe me, listen, I'm a patriot. I'm a libertarian, okay? I believe in freedom. I believe in liberty. I believe in individual, God-given, inalienable rights, okay? So you have a right to think and do and what you wish, as long as your rights don't infringe upon mine. So there's no way any of these issues that they make such a big hubbub about infringes upon anybody's rights, unless they use it as a weapon, and that's what they're doing. They're using these issues as a weapon. And that's the New World Order. All right. I didn't even do any news, but I think I have enough time because, of course, I'll take a little break in about 5 minutes and give you some Azure Soul and a couple of other little things. But right now, let's talk about Obama again. Oh, excuse me, Robomny. No, actually, I have to be, if I'm talking about Romney, I'll have to, yeah, it's going to be difficult to just call them Robomny because then you won't know who I'm talking about or referring to. All right, enough fun. Okay. Obama states that Ryan is standing in the way of helping farmers. Now, he comes from Wisconsin, ladies and gentlemen. What is in Wisconsin? Farms. But he will get you to believe that he doesn't pass these bills. And, he also had to mention that he also passed a $170 million package to help the battered agricultural sector. And I know these things are tough right now, with people not being able to get their farms out there. And he told folks in Bluffs, Idaho, underlying the farm bill was the best way to help those hurt by the lack of rainfall. Unfortunately, right now, too many members of Congress are blocking the farm bill by becoming law. And he pointed out that Paul Ryan might be around Iowa these next few days, and he's one of those leaders in Congress standing in the way. Well, if it happened to see Congressman Ryan, tell him how important this farm bill is to Iowa. That's Obama saying. That's King Obama. Okay. And then Paul Ryan, who hails from an agricultural state and supported disaster relief, and the truth is no one will work harder to defend farmers and ranchers than the Romney-Ryan ticket. Well, that's probably true, but again, you're going to get the same shit because compartmentalized to whatever degree these people are, however much they actually know, their interests are all the same folks. As I said, they're the same Goldman Sachs boys. They're the same. It's a club, ladies and gentlemen, like George Carlin says. It's a club, and you ain't in it. Okay, so that's nice. So they're throwing punches about who's better for the farmers. So of course he was in Iowa talking to 4,300 people. He was going to make sure that the president was going to make sure that Obama, King Obama, was going to make sure. He's an illegitimate president. He is not the president of the United States. He is an illegitimate puppet, like most of these people. And if the CIA wants to have a problem with that, they should do better work covering up their legends. Okay, anyway, Obama also announced that the Department of Agriculture will buy this $170 million worth of meat, poultry, and fish, and about $100 million of pork products, $50 million in chicken, and $10 million of lamb and farm-raised catfish. And the president directed the Department of Defense to encourage its vendors to speed up purchases of beef, pork, lamb, and freeze them for later. Very nice. Did you hear that? The president directed the Department of Defense to encourage its vendors to speed up purchases. So they say they're going to give this, first of all, in the first sentence. This is more Orwellian doublespeak. Listen to this. The first thing that this criminal says is that he is going to strengthen the heartland, families in the heartland, create jobs and turn our economy around. And he is going to be giving the proceeds from this purchase to food banks and such. Then they just have to put in a little bit, they throw some money to the food banks, look over that. But the truth is, they also announced a plan that they're buying meat and poultry for, and catfish and lamb and all these nice things for the Department of Defense to encourage its vendors to speed up purchases of beef, lamb, poultry, and everything else and freeze them for later. How nice. The Pentagon buys about 95 million pounds of beef, 65 million pounds of pork, and 500,000 pounds of lamb annually. And they're saying this is a win-win. You sure it's a win-win? Sure it's a win-win. Because we're having a war. Oh, what's going on in Syria is sickening. But what's happening between Israel and what's happening between the bullshit accusations that all of a sudden Iran has all this capability. And then you got Saudi Arabia getting in the middle. oh God, saying, no, you better not do anything against Iran because we're not going to let you go through us, through Saudi Arabia. We got trouble, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is Azure Soul, and I'm Howard Nima on Truth Talk News, and you're watching TruthBroadcastNetwork.com, and I'll be right back.
Department of Homeland Security requests that everybody stay in their homes.
What if you ever heard that? What if that was really announced? What would you do? Where would you go? How would you protect your family? Do you have resources? And I'm not talking about money, because sometimes money might not be able to buy you anything. Do you have water? Do you have stored food? How long could you live on the water and stored food? could you endure a period of time? Or would you be at the mercy of the New World Order, saying, come, we will feed you and house you and give you a place to stay where your children can play and have swings and enjoy a caged-in community? Well, I only wish that our government wasn't so loving, so protective, so helpful, so interested in fulfilling the rights and liberties of the people, that they're more interested in policing wars and servicing in the name of liberty men in charge, young men recruited from the schools, recruited from ads such as the Navy's saying a global force for good, propagandized truth, lies, and innuendos of victory and valor and patriotism. It's all a lie. It's all for corporate interests, toppling governments, putting in new puppets, new regimes, creating central banks. It's going on right now as we speak. It is going on right now as we speak in Africa, for example. I know I have an article here. All right, we went over the fact that Robomni is bad no matter what you look at. I feel bad for Ryan because he's a good guy. I think Paul Ryan's an awesome guy, and I'll say on that. Clearly not awake, but I don't know necessarily that I think he's more like a just a pawn. You know, he's being used, and thinks he's going to accomplish things. He's probably, you know, compartmentalized to a vast degree, although you never know. He is very aggressive, and they're trying to get the Tea Partiers to get to go with him, and they probably will. And I mean, that's the problem. Everyone's voting party line. Why don't they just, like, you know, let's for once all vote for the constitutional guy, you know, like the libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson. Let's do it just once. Everybody vote for Gary Johnson. Let's see what happens. Let's give a libertarian a shot. Let's give a non-establishment person a shot. And the only way to do it is to have like a John Doe type effect. Somebody that is like that. But it's just because they give no attention to Gary Johnson. But if you Google Gary Johnson, everybody, okay, look at this. And share this information, because, I mean, who else is going to do something? I mean, Ron Paul dropped out. There's all this problems with Ron Paul and controversies with Ron Paul anyway. I mean, why not just once try somebody that's actually going to go after the Constitution and stop all of this bullshit? But no, the sheep just, you know, want to continue to be fed bullshit. They keep wanting to be fed shit and eat it and think that it's the most luscious meal. It's disgusting. All right. Okay, so the farming there, I went over that. Again, talking about the big pharma and their insane control grid over and the medical mafia, you know, the whole cancer industry. I keep talking about Dr. Carpenter and how she's been plagued by it, and others are trying to discredit their legitimate work. What about the vaccine hoax? You know, how the globalists are controlling the medicine industry kills by design. Well, we all know this, or at least I know this. Vaccines being created now are done so with patented GMOs mixed with human DNA, which creates broken information that is read by the cells of the body and directly transmits to disease in the body. Does everybody hear that? I'm going to go to truthbroadcastnetwork.com and I'm going to let you see the website. Right here, everybody should go to truthbroadcastnetwork.com. Well, I mean, you're there now, but you should register and tell other people about it. If you haven't gone on you can post comments. I know there is some construction going on right now, but I mean, there's absolutely awesome information. Here's Eric Holder, the criminal, trying to worm his way out of it with his, executive privileged, it's just like when Ford pardoned Nixon. Come on, Nixon's a criminal. This guy's no better. But the problem is the buck stops there. It's just like Truman said that, that's the truth. The buck stops with the president. And is he even the president? Like we keep saying, I mean, it's good. It's very questionable. I mean, he's illegitimate. The whole thing is illegitimate. This whole system is a criminal system. Anyway, you should definitely check out truthbroadcastnetwork.com on a daily basis because there's updates all the time. Kudos to Harry Link. His work is immense. What he's gotten done in the few weeks that I've been doing Truth Talk Night at the Movies, allowing him the opportunity to actually work on this webpage, is incredible. Harry, you've done amazing work. This is just incredible. So this way he's now just doing a Monday through Wednesday, and he's able to do this incredible work. And thanks, Harry, for all you do. And of course, it's really for us. It's all for humanity. It really, literally is for humanity. But making it a little smaller. Certainly, we want to address the issues like these vaccines that are going to poison people. Then we can't also understand the fact, deny the fact, I should say. We can't deny the fact that Big Pharma is, of course, in collaboration with all of these hooligans, and and that's how they pull off their criminal activity. I mean, they have got people mind controlled because the doctor says, take this drug, do this, do that. And unfortunately, we're at a crossroads right now where we have Big Pharma and the collaborators are resorting to underhanded tactics to push to ban homeopathy. And homeopathy, which is the whole study of anything that has to not do with giving Big Pharma drugs. So they are working so hard, it is unbelievable to try to discredit any type of treatment that does not involve drugs, that they cannot patent as a drug. They want to ban vitamins. They want to make, the FDA is trying to make walnuts a drug. You don't understand, ladies and gentlemen, we are in prison. We are being enslaved by the New World Order. And they will continue to enslave us as long as we allow them to. We have to push back. Peacefully push back. Logistically, like I said, vote for people like Gary Johnson, or people that are gonna really do something, not these paid for politicians. Now again, I think Paul Ryan is a good guy, like, that's trying to really make a difference here. But when push comes to shove here, he's in a puppet position. He really doesn't have any. I mean, he's nothing. They taking him away from a. In fact, you see how the New World Order works. If you go with Robomny, I should say. When I say Robomny, I'm talking about, there we go. It'll be Obamny or Robama. There we go. Robomny, okay, is Romney, and Obamny is the other. Whatever, you'll get the idea, because I hate these criminals so badly. They're all bought and paid for. So now what they did is they took a guy that was making some change to get some money taken away, and they put him into the potential executive class. And if not, they take him away from his efforts to do what he's doing in his position in the government. So what are you doing? It's manipulation. It's control. Forget about this paradigm. I mean, I don't know. We are imprisoned. We are enslaved. The answer is not to not vote, though. That is not the answer. I do not believe the answer is to just say no. Do something for change. Really make change. Try something that no one's done. No one's ever won. No one's ever tried. I mean, people say, the hell with it. You know, they just don't. They're just mind controlled. Well, imagine if we could just get them to say, vote for the little guy. Once, just vote for the little guy. Did you ever see the movie? Meet John Doe? I mean, really, it's a great example. How the people, a guy from the people, a nobody, a lower class guy, not an upper class person. You're expecting rich people to help to tax rich people to get middle class people that are, hating poor people, that are taking away from them, while the rich take away from the middle class, and they say they're going to help them. They call those people Democrats, by the way. That's their label. That's why I say they, because that's just their ideology put in a nutshell. Either way, you're enslaving yourself. Freedom, liberty, fuck all these things. Let there be free markets. Let there be no trade imbalances. Let there stop all this bullshit buying all our products from China. Today on the radio, I heard on the way to work today, again, and I like listening to the talk radio, and I'm listening, and a guy calls in, and he's an HVAC mechanic, and he had to replace a part that normally that would be replaced several years or 8 years later, and sure enough, he had replaced that same part. The original part was like 7 or 8 years old. He had replaced that part with a Chinese-made part, and he was in that same job only 2 years later. And he's seeing it all the time, everywhere he goes to work. And he's trying to tell people, he's like, listen, you don't understand. They have all this good material, all this good stuff is being replaced with shit. So everything's going to fall apart. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Obama had been talking about giving jobs to roads and all this stuff and all this bullshit. It's lies. Why didn't he do it in 2008? Because they're deindustrializing us, ladies and gentlemen, intentionally, getting us to buy shit that we have to keep replacing. And then taxing us on our incomes and our labors, destroying us, taking more power. It's sickening. And war, more war, endless war. Moscow is now going to spend over $720 billion on new aircrafts. Russia's Air Force is going to get 1,600 new warplanes and choppers by 2020. What does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, it's unbelievable. President Vladimir Putin, he said the program's going to cost Moscow $723 billion. We're back in this war game again. It's unbelievable. Sheep outraged after NBC cuts away from the closing ceremonies. So while the Illuminati closing ceremonies were going on, NBC cut away. And people were pissed because, like, Ray Davies, Kate Bush, The Who, and The Muse were cut out of the commercial for a commercial-free airing of a NBC show called Animal Practice, pissing off the sheep. I think that's funny. But that's what the sheep are doing. That's what they care about. Oh my God, that we couldn't see The Who, but World War III's brewing in Syria. I mean, Hillary Clinton is there. She's in the Middle East now talking about ways to extract him and get rid of him. Take care of him. They're taking him out. It's just a matter of time. All right, so Venezuela understands the threat that we are posing to the United States. The United States is posing to Venezuela. So they're already taking precautionary movements with the guerrilla army, preparing for a U.S. invasion against Venezuela because, Chavez is on the New World Order list too, if you haven't thought he isn't. I mean, I'm telling you, it is almost like, it's like when you understand how it works and how they operate and where they go from place to place, it is just like, all right, for the sheep out there and for those that may be a little confused, I'll go back to I'll go back to the movie Independence Day, where these aliens come down, and that's what they do. They go from planet to planet, sucking all the resources, and they move on. Okay, well, more or less, that's what's going on here. It's very much the same thing, but think of the aliens as really the New World Order criminal bankers and these oligarchs. Okay, incarnate. See, the aliens are oligarchs incarnate. Really, that's all it is. But instead of there being these huge forces of aliens, those are just minions, the actual control. Did you ever think of who was actually controlling the aliens? Well, that's the whole concept. Getting it that way, in that movie, that is. Okay? So you never were thinking about that, right? No, you never think about that. Most people just don't think about, well, who's actually controlling this stuff? Why are we here bombing Iraq? Why are we here bombing Afghanistan? Because of weapons of mass destruction? Oh, there weren't any. Oh, that's right. Didn't two planes hit a building and they said it was this guy Osama bin Laden who was in a cave, but then we went into you know, they didn't know where he was, but Peter Arnett somehow found him pre 9/11 when we were looking for him. Nobody could find him, but he managed to do an interview with him in CNN. Oh, and what else? Oh yeah, they blew up another building and some guy named Timothy McVeigh got blamed for it. He was like an MK Ultra victim, just like Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, who was in 1965. He was a volunteer at Harvard for MK Ultra, and then 15 years later, he started blowing stuff up. Then about 15, 20 years after that, man, they caught him, and now he's where he is. It's unbelievable what has happened in this country that people don't know about. But this is why it's Truth Talk News. This is why I talk about it. But the people are just as mind controlled as Ted Kaczynski, who was programmed to do all this. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's what the MK Ultra program was, to program the perfect spy or the perfect assassin. For those in the movie thing, so I have to keep going back to movies, it's like the movie Telephone, where these Nazis in the movie are like programmed to, these Soviets and everyone else, communists, whatever, Nazis and communists. They go back home. They after the war, 20 years go by. They have lives. They raise children, whatever, blah blah blah. But then all of a sudden they get a phone call and somebody says, the telephone, they say, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep." And then they hang up, and then the people are like freaking, they just like change, and they all of a sudden they like go into like their room, and they have this thing that was hidden under a floorboard that they don't never even remember putting there, and it's like a fucking bazooka, and they blow up their whole house with their family and all this crazy shit, and whatever tactic they wanted for their programs, their Nazi programs. Well, those Nazi programs are real, and that's MK Ultra. So don't think that some of these things that have been happening lately aren't people that have been victimized. I mean, it's on record, from congressional record from the 1970s, that 1975, I believe, to be precise, that there were over 100,000 MK Ultra victims. So it's certainly continuing to this day. And now you have people like this where, you have crazy things going on. People shooting people all over the place. It just leads to decay. Some of these things are promulgated. You never know. I mean, you really can't be certain. Honestly, you really can't be certain. But you cannot dismiss the reality that it's copycat. They always say copycat. Like this guy here today that went wild because they were trying to evict him. Now, I think this is a problem. This thing that happened in Texas. I think this is going to be a problem. And why I think it's going to be a problem is because you have people that are going to be, the economy is going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Romney is just going to be a disaster for America. We are going down, imagine it this way. We're on an inverted plane. I'm trying to get my hand in there. We're on an inverted plane like this, okay? There's grease on this side here, and we're like over here, like trying to hold on, and it's slippery as all hell, and we just keep slipping, and as we move down, it's just more impossible. It's like Quint You know, when Quint was, for those, again, I keep going back to movies because people can remember this. It's good visualization. Remember when Quint is on the orca in Jaws, and he slips and he tries to grab his hand. He tries to grab, I think it was yeah, it's Brody's hand, and the very same uh, uh, air tank that'll blow up the shark hurts his hand, and he loses his grip. And the shark, he slides down, and he's fighting, but he keeps sliding down, and eventually that shark just gets in his mouth, and he bites down and starts eating him up, sucking him down, and that's it. Well, that's where we're going. I mean, it's like that. It's like a horror movie. I mean, it is like Quint being eaten by the shark in Jaws. Slowly. I mean, remember him? He's, it was like pretty awful, gruesome, screaming, I mean, well, come on, we're going to have a screaming, dying death if we don't do something. And everyone loves that. They love blood and gore. They're trying to get everybody to be so preconditioned to all of this horrible stuff. So it's no problem when we send people to war. It's disgusting. Okay. Well, tomorrow we'll go over more news here on Truth Talk News. And God bless you. And now we have, in just a moment, Harry Link with Death to the New World Order. And we the people, we will rise. And the reason we will rise is because we are united. In our unity is our strength. Truth is the only answer. And exposing the lies, sharing the truth. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Which is beautiful. It was deemed safe. And as they raise this building now, this structure, they will be building a low-income housing project for people to live in this safe environment. Remember when Fukushima occurred, that they never talk about anymore? You'll never hear about a word about it on mainstream news. That Fukushima is safe. It's safe. They just raised the acceptable levels of radiation. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Life as usual. Well, life as usual in this very, very complicated, devious, twisted plot that is the control grid of the New World Order. Now, utilizing their control and throwing their power in, like, right out there in front of your face in many occasions, they let us realize that we don't see what they see. And when you are illuminated, and I hope that everyone watching Truth Talk News and Harry Link, of course, here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com with Death to the New World Order at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Slim Swayze from 8 to 9 p.m. We all are working, okay, to awaken or to illuminate the people to see what these evil Luciferian criminals, murderous criminals, genocidal. Good evening, I'm Howard Nima, and you're listening and watching Truth Talk News on truthbroadcastnetwork.com and formradio.com and all affiliates thereof. The Olympics have come to an end, ceremonially, of course, with typical Illuminati fashion. I would be remiss not to mention here on Truth Talk News on truthbroadcastnetwork.com that we are in a ritualistic ceremony that occurred last night. And I guess probably the best way to describe it would be to say that the opening ceremonies had the circular, first of all, all of these various symbols that were there. I mean, after all, ladies and gentlemen, the Illuminati pyramids were a focal point of this arena that was built on a toxic waste dump that was so just deemed safe. UN Agenda 21, bailouts, sellouts, Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, false flag terror attacks, Bill Gates, Henry Kissinger, New World Order mind control, Bank of America stealing homes with cut and paste mortgage loans, police, state, taser guns, FEMA camps, Mandarin, Monsanto rules the food supply while Big Pharma dopes your mind, prison system, puppeteers, foundations, fund the fears, fund the evil through the years, the world's not as it appears. CIA smuggles drugs while Wachovia and Wells Fargo launder them, then give the proceeds to the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank. Now the IRS takes money out of every single check. Money created out of thin air and leave you with debt. They want to make you a serf, a slave to their demand. They want to take your life in every way they can. Fluoride, GMO, vaccines, chemtrails, United Nations genocide. The world they show us is not real. This is how they kill and steal. Rothschild, Bundy, Rockefeller, Club of Rome. On the Georgia Guidestones it's written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. finally is forced to put him on. I guess he's broken down. They're both broken down. They beat each other practically to death. And he puts it on and he sees it and he can't believe it. And then he wakes up, he's, oh my God, I can't believe it. And that's the whole point. So it makes this social statement. And nobody gets this. Everyone going to the movies is just eating their popcorn and drinking their soda. And nobody gets these subtle hints. And I'm definitely going to delve more into the film aspect, movies. I mean, I went to film school and I was taught things, and now in my awakening, I look back and it's a very different world, of course, and I'm going to expose it and things I didn't realize that I do know. And I know a lot about film theory, and I could talk about Sergei Eisenstein and the Odessa step sequence, and I mean, really go deep into the whole concept of montage. And his work with that. I studied Eisenstein, was a big one. Hitchcock is my favorite director. You know, so I could get into that whole thing. And there is like a lot of similarities. I mean, Hitchcock, again, you know, it's funny. You look at him as he's New World Order, he's New World Order. Yes and no. I think that he was aware. He was certainly aware. He wasn't political, but he was aware of what was going on, and I think he poked fun at the elite and made his murderers these daunting, these very charming characters, like in Strangers on a Train and so on, for one example, where the killers and the crazy people are these elegant elitists, you know, and lunatics are all about. And we have come to the point where seeing what we see every day is almost overwhelming, because when you are illuminated, you recognize things that the average person doesn't see. I keep going back to that movie They Live, and I think They Live is a good representation of what I'm talking about. And I think the resistance, I've said this before on shows, in that film to the truth, in that scene with Keith David and Roddy Piper duking it out, because all that Roddy Piper wanted him to do is simply put on a pair of sunglasses, special sunglasses that allow you to see who are these aliens in that movie, but basically it's the criminals. I mean, it's definitely another euphemism or another, you know, symbolism or metaphor for the elite or the controllers in this particular movie. And he is so damn resistant to put on those sunglasses to see the truth and the messages and everything else in the movie. For those that have not seen it, it's a great film. I think it was 1988, and it was John Carpenter. Highly recommend the film. They beat each other up, and all the guy wants to do is put on the glasses, and he won't put those glasses on. Keith David will not put on those glasses till basically he